unlocking your world of creativity with best-selling author and brand innovator, Mark Stinson. This episode is brought to you by White Cloud Coffee Roasters, where every bean tells a story of adventure. Visit whitecloudcoffee.com and use the code CREATIVITY.
Welcome back, friends, to our podcast, Your World of Creativity. We're the podcast where we're exploring the intersection of imagination and innovation across all sorts of industries and disciplines. But this is one of my favorite topics, music, creativity, collaboration. And I'm so happy to have members of the band Empty Pockets, a Chicago-based quartet. They back legends. They have their own albums and their own music, and they've just released Live in Buffalo that's already climbing up the blues charts. Guys, welcome to the show.
So good to be here.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah,
Thanks for having us.
We have Erika Brett, Josh Solomon,
Hello.
Bellon, and Adam Balasco, all in Chicago today.
Read my mind to know it's true. Trust or not, that's all on you. Tributaries broken through, standing in the way. Hear the flood, it's washing out what everything is all about. Now you'll have to figure out why it all seems so gray. And that's when things start to change. The outside spectrum will find a new range, and you're sure those colors you see aren't the same.
This idea of all the kinds of musics that you play. I've heard Americana and roots. I've heard yacht rock. I've heard blues, with a side of rock and roll. How do you guys try to define it? Or is the beauty not defining it? What do you think?
I kind of like that we can't be pinned down. There are some disadvantages to that, but I feel like our very diverse variety of influences comes out and creates something unique. And I kind of love that.
Yeah, I think we define it after we write it and play it and arrange it. And maybe that's a business mistake. I feel like for most people that are in this industry, that stay in this industry, you're in it because it's fun and because it's satisfying, or else you would go do something more reasonable. And a band we like to talk about is like the Venn diagram of all the people in it. Is Adam's drumming and my guitar playing, Erika's keyboard playing, and Nate's bass playing. And so that becomes the genre it is.
Yeah.
And then from our perspective, which is not that easy, we go name the genre afterwards.
And that's mostly because marketing kind of makes us do that. But
Right.
otherwise, we would just make whatever we felt like.
Right. I always feel like genre names are for record stores and not for bands. Like, it's cool to lump stuff together after the fact, but while you're trying to create the art, sometimes it's very limiting to have those words like in your head or just on around and about you, and like just make the music in them. Yeah, and then like so Josh says, to find it afterwards.
Yes. And how do you feel like that style has evolved? I mean, over the years and albums and venues?
Well, I mean, when I joined this band midway through. So when I joined, they were doing a little more of the Americana, country, acoustic stuff. And I've kind of yanked them into more electric, shuffle-based blues, rock. And not to say they needed yanking or anything. That's just kind of, I'm a stubborn player and I'm not good at country and folk and Americana.
Well, it definitely speaks to like the Venn diagram I was talking about. Like, it's not like we had a meeting and we're like, Adam's good at this, so we're gonna go that direction.
It naturally flows.
We
out.
jam.
Yeah.
And then, things that sound good, maybe we gravitate towards. But it's funny, we were on the plane and I was listening to like a mix, and The Who came up like 3 times, one of my favorite bands. And the 3 Who songs that came up were like 3 totally different genres. At one point they're like what today would call like indie rock. And then at a different point, they're almost prog, with the synths and the stuff. And then at a different point, the Who sound absolutely country.
I feel like that's true for Zeppelin. That's true for Fleetwood Mac. That's true for a lot of like those old, the Beatles. I mean, like like playing with genre is fun and part of exploring art. And so that seems to be something we should encourage, not discourage.
Erika Brett on the vocal.
Elliot Scazzaro on saxophone.
One
Watch
thread
that
I do
box.
see going through is the harmony, though. You all blend the voice so well.
We fell in love singing together. So like I met him, we were making music together, and I've always been attracted to harmonies, but singing with Josh like kind of changed my life, totally changed my life.
So many of our central influences, old school, the Beatles, but like newer school, like Red Hot Chili Peppers or Ben Folds Five.
The Indigo Girls,
They all are utilizing a lot of even 3-part harmony.
Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, Crosby, Stills.
If we had to choose a lead singer in our band, maybe it would be Erika, but Nate or I would both front a band. And so in a Beatles way, like George Harrison could have easily been the front of a band. And obviously John and Paul both could have. So we've already referenced the Beatles like 5 times. But the harmony is a big piece of what we do, and it is a piece that has, to use Adam's words, like yanks it back sometimes to Americana, or there's really like a mix going on, whether we got a blues groove and a classic blues bass line and guitar part, but then there's like 3-part harmony on top of that. And then we are like, for better or worse, I don't know what this is.
Yeah.
Right. Well, let's talk about the influence of the road, this idea of the band, life on the road, but it's also the collaboration, because you've toured with some pretty iconic artists. And how have those collaborations kind of shaped your sound, even the songwriting process?
On the road, you play every day. There's a time when you're starting a band and when you're young where you're just desperate to play in front of anybody and to practice, and everything is elevated. That's everything you do. When Al Stewart took us on the road, or I call him Uncle Al, and we started playing every day in front of audiences, in a good way, some of that special uniqueness melts away, and you start to be able to do your thing and test your thing in front of audiences all the time. It's almost like a 5th band member. They talk about the 12th man in football, it's almost like that 5th band member, the audience. We all say, oh, we love this song. And then it just never hits the audience. That's different than that song's always hitting. And you can't help but, right, fellas? Like, you get influenced by that a little bit.
It's part of the contract, honestly, like between the audience and the artist is like this energy exchange. And so if you're a artist who's paying attention to what's going on, like you want to build the energy up or drop it down or whatever, but you want that energy exchange with the audience. And so part of that is being like, yeah, this song is totally hitting, even though like, I don't know, I don't see it, but audiences are reacting to it. So like, let's that in third, or, we utilize that here to try and make the show better for everybody in a way that you don't what Josh was talking about earlier, when everything's like super unique and special and elevated. You don't have that, attention to those little bits of the crack that make things better. Everything's so much more amped up all the time. And so, yeah, like being able to settle into like a real working rhythm and as a professional musician and figure things out like that, like slice by slice.
Well, and then we've learned, for songwriting and performing things from Kenny Loggins and Al Stewart,
Simon Kerr, Gary Wright, Richie Furay. And what's interesting is like seeing a show every day, even touring with George Lopez, the comedian, and seeing his show every day. It's really interesting when you find these pockets where you, as the viewer, have lost the specialness. Like, I've seen Al Stewart do this bit too many times for me to care about it anymore. But the audience is digging it every night. It crushes. And there's an important professional entertainer thing to realize of a lot of it's not always about you. It's not always about me. It's about them. And there are certain things, there are certain universals that I'm sure like touring troops in Italy learned 2,000 years ago that are still true. Comic timing, like Adam likes to say, I'll shout you out here, Adam. Adam likes to say he was voted funniest in high school. You know, Adam gets comedy, you know, and there's certain things that Adam's brought to our band that just like work no matter what.
And then those influences have influenced, like, you know, the lyrics that we write and the harmonies that we create and the actual music itself. Like Al Stewart has definitely influenced the kind of songs that we have written, how we arrange them. Kenny Loggins definitely influenced specific songs. Like he worked on a song with us once, which was pretty amazing. Simon Kirk, we produced an album with him and got to work on his music with him in our studio. All those experiences, they really add up to making us more dynamic players and better musicians.
And I think about the inspiration behind some of these songs. I mean, Al Stewart and we've been talking about having seen you guys in Boise, but I know Al loves to tell this story about what song is going to be on the radio that was inspired by a legend in Spain from the, I don't know what it is, 12 or 1300. I mean, there's some songs he writes that are just so esoteric, and yet they do resonate, don't they?
There's a balance, like something we definitely have learned from all the super successful people we've performed with is like, you have to acknowledge what the audience is going to react like a little bit, but also you can't play to it too hard. You still have to do your own
authentic
thing. You have to care, and then all this, some it's a paradox, and then also somehow not care at the same time. Now we're learning to write about topics like Al has taught us of disease, typhoid Mary we've written about, or we've written about very random topics where maybe you're not designing a song to be that traditional hit, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, and let's get in. We were talking about the Live in Buffalo album, but your last studio album, Gotta Find the Moon, recorded it with a very unique, I read, one room process, even some of it at Abbey Road, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
What was that experience like? How did it influence, I guess, the creativity, the vibe of the record itself, that process?
Recording at Abbey Road is sort of mundane. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Just another day in the life.
Not that big of a deal, you know?
Yes.
No, truly walking into that place was insane. You know, like you've seen photos of the front of it and you've seen photos and videos of all of your favorite bands inside, and you walk in and it's just as cool. Like, I'm not going to undersell it. It was awesome. It felt great. It was cool. The stuff inside was cool. They've got great gear. So like it just all added up to a very fun, but still like relaxed session. We kind of just we were there for 2 days and we recorded a bunch of stuff and used all of it, and it's all over that album, and some of it you can tell was recorded in one room.
Stay back, I'm out of control. I'm like an animal. Late night, I need to let go of it soon. I gotta find the moon. Gotta find the moon.
Soul chasing my mind.
You know where the other one is.
I'm left with the rind.
Who left the other one?
Do I have to lose?
We could take the other one back.
Too frozen to choose.
The drums and the piano mic and the piano and the drums, and that you're not overdubbing anything because there's bleed everywhere, but that's kind of our vibe, you know. And sometimes we like to say, like, when you zig, or when they zig, you zag. There's so much, and there's nothing wrong with it. I don't think there's anything wrong with a particular process, but there's so much really, really highly edited music out there, you know, where you get the guitar riff and it's really polished, and then you fly that,
You
we would
copy
say.
and
You
paste
copy and
it.
paste that everywhere. You record to a click so you could get that.
We're not quantizing anything.
Yeah, so, you know, at Abbey Road, when you set up all your mics in a beautiful room and you have this drum set, you're locking yourself into not being able to change it. you know, there's a song on Gotta Find the Moon called Fortune. That's in a difficult time signature. It's in 5/4. And we recorded it without overdubs. And I love how it turned out. I love how the song flows together. You know, we really are, and I think we're embracing it more and more as we go on. Maybe it's because of who we've toured with. Maybe it's because of all of our combined ethos. We're an old-fashioned band, and we approach things in an old-fashioned sort of way. We're not
Limited gear, limited stuff.
editing things in the box and Abbey Road and setting up all the mics in one room and getting in there and just recording for 5 hours is our thing. Even where Nate's sitting right now is our studio. That's how we record in our studio.
And something that was really cool, you know, knowing that we weren't going to do overdubs and knowing that we were going to kind of use the tracks, two kind of cool things happen. One is that I do think you can feel the energy between the band members, and in that session, you know, we're Beatles fans, we're Beatles freaks, and the feeling of being there and using their instruments and being in the rooms where they were, that kind of informs the energy of those performances. And we had a plan to only record a certain number of tracks there, but we were sitting there and just knocking them out. And so we kept going, and we ended up recording like, I think 3 or 4, maybe 5 songs we didn't intend to record. But because we just were feeling it, we did it and we used them.
You know, and tempo is a weird thing. I prefer it living and breathing. Your heart beats faster, your heart beats slower, as opposed to this strict mathematical. Like, obviously there's some math in music, but I like the give and take more. You know, and we go back and we tap through our recordings, and they don't usually fluctuate more than a couple of beats per minute, but they do fluctuate, which is impossible with the click running through the entire song.
Yes. And I guess to compare and contrast the idea of a one-room studio process versus, you know, live from Buffalo, you know, where you have to go in saying, well, I wanted to ask you, do you on the road say, we're going to be releasing this as an album, so let's get all the tunings and let's get all the levels and let's get everything? Or do you say afterwards, wow, that was a great tour, we should figure out how to release this?
That was deliberate. That one we knew. We were playing with that sax player, Elliot Scazzaro. We had him only for a few shows, and we thought if we recorded a few different shows, we could get something out of it. So that show, Live in Buffalo, we only ended up using one show, but we went into it knowing we wanted to record from it. And it informed my playing. It's not to say it's overly restrained or something. Like, we were all loose and it's tight and it sounds great, and I stand by it. But I knew that I was being recorded when we did that one, for instance.
It's just hard not to think about it when you're recording live like that. It's hard not to think about it when you're in a studio environment, but obviously you're in the environment for recording, so you have to be. But when you're at a live show, you know, you're used to just like letting that one fly. So it's hard not to think about it.
Yeah, we were able to choose our favorite tracks and performances that ended up, I think 9 tracks ended up on our album Live in Buffalo. It's not something that would always work. I think we were kind of just lucky. I think if we were to do that 10 times, especially with a player who doesn't tour with us, I'm not sure you'd get 10 albums.
We got
you
one.
know what I mean? Like,
good show.
But there was a great energy. We had a really good crowd that night, and we really like Elliot personally and as a musician, and we just kind of all egged each other on a little bit, and you can hear it. Like, we push the tempos a little bit. We definitely push ourselves musically.
We jam hard.
There are moments, even on the album we kept, where like I feel like, oh, I'm like kind of on a tightrope here a little bit. Like, am I executing what I'm intending to? Like, mostly I am, enough to put out the album. And I like the sound, but there's like as opposed to the Abbey Road sessions, there's like a certain amount of danger on the Live in Buffalo recording that I like urgency and danger.
Yes. Well, and let's think about maybe advice that you have for other creative artists. First of all, my guests are the members of the Empty Pockets. I have Erika, Josh, Nate, and Adam. But you guys have made your own kind of creative lane. We talk about genre non-defining, genre bending, genre avoiding. But not everybody, can embrace that. But you've done it as an independent band. You've collaborated with a lot of other great artists. But what insight from your experience would you give other creatives, whether they're musicians or other artists, about building that lasting, defining creativity?
Say yes
some-
and proceed.
You guys are the sage senior people.
Yeah.
now. Yeah.
I think a lesson I've learned over and over again is it doesn't matter how convenient it might seem, you cannot and should not run from yourself. Because at the end of the day, you always wake up again as you. And it's very difficult to maintain and build a career on something that doesn't land back at you. As attractive as that may sound in a moment, in a meeting, I don't think it's wise to pursue anything that doesn't fit you well. I think that's going to be, even if it seems expedient, and that's one of the, we didn't sit down and say, let's be genre bending. I wish we weren't, I wish
Easier.
we were a punk band or a rock band or a electronica band. It would be easier, but we've learned
You have to live your truth.
you can't fight all the time yourself. Nate is who he is. I am who I am. I can't. At some point, you're going to be unconsciously creating, and then you're right back to who you really are.
Nate,
Yeah.
since we were mentioning you, I wanted to come back to a comment you made about, genres sometimes being for the record store. And there's listeners out there saying, what's a record store? But, because we're in a singles driven YouTube, one track at a time kind of industry now. So
Sure.
maybe it doesn't matter, just as long as I like this track.
Yeah, and perhaps that's where it's come back around, hasn't it? Back to the mid-50s,
Sure.
driven by the 45 or the 78 era.
Mhm.
It was all just singles. And so that it seems like that's a tough genre to get in, to try and stratify yourself into. And it's not something that trips my trigger. I would rather just do what I like and not chase trying to include myself into something like that. And I think we do that pretty well as a band too. It's just we're just gonna do this, and it's gonna sound like us. And so that's the advice that I would give. Advice to young creatives: go find your local record store. They're starting to exist more and more, and you can get yourself some decent records. Vinyl players are cheap now. And number two, Erika said it, be true to yourself. Doc said it, do stuff that is true to you. And I'll say it, do what trips your trigger. It's the only way through.
Fantastic. Well, Adam, you said you were yanking us into some new directions every now and then. What's next? What's over the horizon? Any new surprises coming up for the band?
Ooh, good question. Well, we're hoping to be back at Abbey Road later this year to do some more recording. I don't know that. I mean, it all happens in slow motion, so it's hard to know if that record will be in a totally new direction. I don't think so. I think it's still kind of our blues rock, vocal harmony, groovy thing. I mean, honestly, I'm into hardcore punk. I wouldn't mind if this band went in that direction. Josh was saying that earlier, that it would be easy if we just kind of picked a lane. So it's a good question. I don't know. We'll see. I might yank them around.
You never know.
Mark, the discussion just makes me think something I think all the time, which is for myself and for artists of all ages, I think what's really important is a tough concept, which is you have to embrace the paradox of this industry and all that it is. Things are true and the opposite is true at the same time. And I know that's not, it doesn't seem that helpful, but it really is. And the more we do that,
Embrace that.
embrace the contradiction, I think that's the path to success, is that you have to be flexible and inflexible at the same time. You know, you have to be true to yourself, you know, so I think it's a good piece of advice to find somebody who's where you want to be and ask for directions. But I also think it's simultaneously true that you have to make your own way.
Your path.
So even though it's a singles-based environment, sure, and all the huge artists are doing that doesn't mean that you can't do long form and make that your thing.
And
Doesn't
there
mean
are
you can't
people
do
doing
the
it.
opposite.
Yeah.
You know, like,
Tedeschi Trucks Band is doing that, you know,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
are people doing it?
and because you don't have to be a giant superstar. Like, we have a nice career, but people have never heard of us. You don't have to be a giant superstar to have a nice career in music. And that's sort of one of the weird magic things about the internet, is it's made some people, it made Drake huge, but it also makes it possible for a band like us to be very small and still have like a sustainable career.
Well, and you've earned this place as collaborators, you know, so that you can work with other artists, and you not only attract them, but they're attracted to you. What's the secret to that, you know, embrace of the collaboration?
I think being easy to work with, number one. I think that's true about this industry in general.
Not being late ever,
Like,
never late.
We're really
It's
on
so
time.
fun that you say that, because I always think of the show up as
You're
like
never late.
number one.
Like,
Show up on time, be there early, be enthusiastic.
So
Yeah.
good.
be easy to be around and
What's Adam got?
like
Our
what we're doing.
our professionalism borders on desperation, I would say. We're desperate for the gig.
So we're going to be there so early.
Yeah.
You will
We don't
carry your
think we-
guitar.
Yes. Yeah. Can I grab that speaker for you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Literally
Collaborator
literally now.
/ roadie. Yes.
That's real.
Yeah,
that's real.
very
That's
mean,
real.
Yeah.
And you never know like what audio 2 person is going to be the booker of that venue in 4 years. Like, we go around and we truly try to make everyone, hospitality person, security guard, bus driver, like, we're all putting on a show together,
Be nice and create value, you know?
and people
Boy,
tend to remember us.
There's the title of this whole episode right there. You thought you were coming for some deep philosophical creativity, and we got be nice and show up on time. It's
That's
like-
our superpower.
Exactly. I think it's fantastic. I can't thank you guys enough. What a fun conversation. Josh and Erika, Nate and Adam, how fun talking to you. And
Thanks, Mark.
have fun out on the road this year, and say hi to Al Stewart and all the other people that you're going to meet, whether they're indoors, outdoors. It's going to be a great summer of touring. I just know it.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank
All right.
you.
Great
Thank you.
talking to you. And listeners, I hope you've enjoyed this. The passion and the joy for the music is certainly contagious, but the practicality, the real life stuff, we love that here too. And I want to thank our sponsor, White Cloud Coffee Roasters. You can get 10% off your first order when you order at whitecloudcoffee.com. We have all got a mug in front of us right now, and use the word creativity at checkout and you can get that 10% off. Well, keep coming around and join us next time. We're going to keep creating. We're going to keep sharing the light of creativity, and then rate, subscribe, review, all the things you do to a podcast, wherever you listen to your podcast. Until next time, I'm Mark Stinson, and we'll keep unlocking your world of creativity. We'll see you next time.